Next on the news.
This was a brutal act of violence.
He could face life in prison. Charges filed against the suspect accused of killing LA's auxiliary bishop David O'Connell. Also tonight,
this Ash Wednesday, people are picking up a passport, not for vacation, but for a journey of faith. I'm Jessica Easthope with the Lenten Pilgrimage that's challenging parishioners in the Diocese of Brooklyn to walk with each other.
Falling like a house of cards, construction quality is in focus after a quake rocks the Middle East and communities look for a safe roof over their heads. Plus, how one priest and a community are rallying in Ohio after they say a devastating train wreck causes a number of health issues. I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now. We begin tonight with a news alert. The Los Angeles District Attorney's Office has charged suspect Carlos Medina with the murder of Auxiliary Bishop David O'Connell. If convicted, the 61-year-old could face 35 years to life in prison. Investigators say it's still unclear why Medina allegedly shot the bishop. He is the husband of Bishop O'Connell's housekeeper and was taken into custody on Monday. The charges were announced during a news conference on Ash Wednesday, during which District Attorney George Gascon remembered the beloved bishop.
As Catholics around LA County and the nation start the holy season of Lent, let us reflect on Bishop O'Connell's life of service and dedication to those in greatest need of care. Charging Mr. Medina will never repair the tremendous harm that was caused by this callous act, but it does take one step closer to accountability.
The DA's office is also charging Medina with a special allegation that he used a gun during the commission of Bishop O'Connell's murder. Be sure to follow Currents News and the tablet for continuing coverage of this investigation.
And believe in the gospel.
Also tonight, Catholics around the world receiving their ashes. But in the Diocese of Brooklyn, it's not only Lent that's beginning, but a special 40-day pilgrimage through the streets of New York. Like any trip, that pilgrimage requires a passport. Parishioners got theirs today at the Cathedral Basilica of St. James and will get a stamp at every church they visit for the next 40 days. And as Currents News' Jessica Easthope explains, the journey will bring Catholics on a tour of the Diocese of Brooklyn.
No need to book a flight or even pack a bag. But with this passport in hand, Catholics in the Diocese of Brooklyn have everything they need to embark on a journey of faith this Ash Wednesday. Stamp by stamp, the pilgrimage began. People at the Cathedral Basilica of St. James lined up, ready to take a passport and give of themselves.
Maybe this will help open people's eyes again and make people realize what they've been missing.
Laura Taylor has been a parishioner at St. James for more than 20 years, but this Ash Wednesday is unlike any other she's experienced. She arrived early to make sure she got her hands on one of these, a 40-day Lenten pilgrimage passport. Inside, a blank space for each stamp under 42 designated parishes.
I'm hoping that with the pilgrimage that people will realize it's time to come home again and come back to the church.
Parishioners can attend Mass, Eucharistic adoration, or confession at any of the parishes. The idea of a pilgrimage passport started with the National Eucharistic Revival and feedback that came from synod listening sessions as a chance to experience all the diocese has to offer.
It's a cultural reflection. And our hope is by visiting all of these different parishes in the diocese, our church will grow in an understanding of who we are as God's holy people.
Bishop Robert Brennan says the pilgrimage is a challenge for parishioners, a way of giving something up for Lent, exchanging your time for prayer.
Together we walk with one another, but all of us together are walking with Jesus. And we're doing this in a very pointed way during the season of Lent as a reminder that Jesus is with us always.
After parishioners received their ashes and got their passports, some began to plan their own Lenten journeys.
My goal is to get to all 40. I think it's an awesome tool to evangelize and get people back into church.
I'm going to hit definitely the 2 churches in Queens need to revive, and let's hope I can get to as many as possible.
The pilgrimage ends on Wednesday, April 5th. Parishioners are encouraged to celebrate the Easter Triduum at their own parishes. Those who make it to 20 or more will receive a certificate from Bishop Brennan. In downtown Brooklyn, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
To learn more about the pilgrimage and to sign up for updates, just go to dioceseofbrooklyn.org/Lenten Pilgrimage. President Joe Biden is on his way home to the White House. He left Warsaw, Poland, but before doing so, he reaffirmed the U.S.'s support to defend NATO countries and said Russia made a, quote, big mistake suspending its last nuclear arms control pact. The commander-in-chief also promised that Ukraine will continue having U.S. support. The Holy Father marked the grim one-year anniversary of the start of the Ukraine-Russia conflict during his general audience Wednesday.
Restiamo vicini al martoriato popolo ucraino che continua a soffrire e chiediamoci, è stato fatto tutto il possibile per fermare la guerra?
The pontiff asked government leaders to do everything possible for peace and added that a victory built on rubble will never be a genuine victory. The Pope was also given a unique gift. It's a cross made up of broken windows caused by Russian missiles in the first few days of the war. It was given to him by a priest who is also the Secretary General of Caritas Spes Ukraine. It's meant to symbolize the Ukrainian people's pain. As we approach the one-year anniversary of the war in Ukraine, the paper is also looking to the parishioners who have been helping those affected by the war. Like, for example, these churchgoers who are assisting disabled Ukrainians in Poland. Volunteers have raised tens of thousands of dollars for the orphans, who you can read more about in this week's Tablet newspaper. You can read these stories and more by going to your local church and picking up the paper. To get future editions delivered right to your mailbox, head over to thetablet.org and subscribe. Over in Turkey, people are still reeling from those devastating earthquakes. Anger is starting to set in, and as Jomana Karadse shows us, they want to know how so many new buildings were able to collapse.
He spends his days sifting through the rubble, watching excavators desperately searching for traces of his father. Mehmet, not his real names, already recovered and buried the bodies of his grandparents and his mother. His parents had only moved into what was a brand new high-rise development in Antakya last summer.
This is the newest one. This is the latest one built in this area, and also this is the most expensive one. They say this building is earthquake-proof, and it is a new one. So we truly believe that nothing's going to happen.
Not only were people here sold luxury and comfort, but the illusion of earthquake safety.
As you can see, most buildings around here sustained a lot of damage, but they're still standing. According to residents here, this collapsed within seconds like a house of cards.
Several other buildings in the city owned by the same developer also came crumbling down. The lucky ones who survived are now homeless in makeshift camps, overlooking a life they once had, gone in an instant. Families of victims still grappling with their loss and grief are blaming developers after easy profit for cutting corners and using cheap construction material.
This is basically murder. They disobey all the rules. They did everything wrong, and this is the result. They just build a cemetery with sand.
The government's launched investigations across the earthquake zone and has so far rounded up dozens of building contractors. But many say it's not just the contractors who are to blame. This is a systematic problem, says Koray Tanim from the Chamber of Architects. This is a complex problem of the system, not an individual one. The country's Chamber of Architects says a construction boom, lax inspections by authorities and government amnesties for developers who didn't abide by building codes introduced after previous disasters, all contributed to this catastrophe.
That was Jomana Karadse reporting. Residents there added that developers were motivated by profits, which led to the destruction, nothing else. Now let's take a look at some of the other stories making news right now. Fox News host Tucker Carlson claims he has thousands of hours of security footage from the January 6th riot at Capitol Hill. He reportedly got the footage from House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Democrats are saying this is a grave breach of security. Seattle is now the first city in the United States to ban caste discrimination. This impacts South Asian Americans and other immigrants. The caste system is a social hierarchy that divides people into different categories categories at birth. New York City sells almost $225 million of COVID supplies for only $500,000. Many of the items, such as ventilators and face shields, were reportedly grossly overpaid for by City Hall. There's a lot more news headed your way. A new clinic opens up in Palestine, Ohio, to treat possible health issues from that train derailment. Plus, the pastor of the only Catholic church in town tells us how he feels about drinking the water and how that revival helped to revive the economy in a small Kentucky town. It's the mother church of Queens County and one of the most diverse.
When I came here, I said, the whole world exists in my parish.
And one parishioner is helping to preserve the past for the future.
That's the history of the parish.
Juanita Martinez is the pulse of the parish at Our Lady of Mount Carmel in Astoria. Tuesday, right here on Currents News. Former President Donald Trump was in Ohio Wednesday. The 2024 presidential candidate visited the town of East Palestine following the environmental disaster caused by a derailed train. Trump's visit follows criticism from the mayor of East Palestine over the current president's surprise visit to Ukraine instead of the Ohio town. He later said he would welcome President Biden. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is set to visit tomorrow after facing increasing pressure from residents of East Palestine to visit the town. Buttigieg said earlier this week that he would go when the time is right. He's expected to meet with community members affected by the derailment on Thursday and receive an update on the ongoing investigation by the NTSB. Meantime, people in East Palestine are dealing with their own concerns. Official word is that the air and water around the community is safe, but residents experiencing rashes and other issues since the derailment have left some room for doubt. Empty rooms stand ready for use at the First Church of Christ in East Palestine, Ohio, where starting Tuesday it will be used as a clinic.
We'll be here to help people as long as necessary.
Here, residents who say they're experiencing adverse health effects like headaches, nausea, and rashes can be examined by experts.
People are having some of those things, and whether it's because of the chemicals or because of this time of the year, it's hard to tell.
More than 2 weeks after the Norfolk Southern train derailment and the controlled release of chemicals by the company that followed, residents in East Palestine are increasingly worried about what's in their air, water, and soil.
When we think about the chemicals that we know have been released, they are known carcinogens. Vinyl chloride is a carcinogen.
Signs of chemicals visible in creeks near the derailment site over the weekend. While in Cincinnati and northern Kentucky on Monday, water officials reopened water intakes from the Ohio River. They shut them down out of an abundance of caution in the anticipated arrival of the last detectable amount of chemicals from the derailment. Water officials say there have been no detections of the specific chemicals from the train derailment. Meanwhile, back in East Palestine, air quality tests in 530 homes showed no detection of contaminants above safe limits. Officials also say public water is safe, while private well water users should stick with bottled water for now. Despite those guarantees, the toxic chemical spill is still causing an uproar and criticism directed at Norfolk Southern.
Everything that's happened here, all the cleanup, all the drilling, all the testing, all the hotel stays, all of that is on Norfolk Southern.
The rail company's CEO standing by the decision to conduct a controlled release, saying the burn was the right thing to do.
I think we did what we needed to do in order to prevent an uncontrolled explosion.
The federal government has sent medical experts to help assess health concerns. And one person with some concern is the pastor of the only Catholic church in town, Father David Misbrenner of Our Lady of Lourdes in East Palestine and St. Jude's Catholic Church in nearby Columbiana joins us now. Hi, Father.
Hello.
So, Father,
Good to see you.
Thanks for being here. I know the day of the derailment you were in Columbiana, but you went to the church at East Palestine the next morning. That church, from what I understand, is only about a quarter of a mile from the site. So tell us what you saw, what you smelled.
Okay, my bishop called me. He was the first person to call me when all this happened. And when I went to the church, I was able to get there before they quarantined everything off, before they closed everything off Saturday morning. and there was the big cloud of smoke there, and the town had a specific odor, the chemical odor. But there was really nothing, around the church, anything that I could do. What happened was on that Sunday morning before I had Mass, they had ordered an evacuation a mile around where the church is located. So, of course, the church was affected by the evacuation. So we couldn't have Sunday Mass that particular morning.
I understand most of your parishioners are senior citizens. So what are they saying to you? Are they concerned about the air and the water, or what could happen in the future?
They're concerned. In our own church, the parish church, we had it, it tested, the air quality was okay. And they say, that the water is okay to drink. But, inside you're thinking, it's too early to tell, is any of that chemical, did it go into the water system? Did it go in, where people are going to be affected? Yeah. And, I am only the pastor. I can't speak like for the government or for the governor or anything like that. I just take care of the people, the people's souls and their needs. And the parishioners are good. They're good parishioners. We've used the hall, the basement, church, for a distribution center, bottled water, cleaning supplies, diapers, and things like that. And we've been able to be, to do a good outreach in regards to that.
That's great to hear. Now, the Biden administration was criticized for a slow response. While the EPA was there on the scene just hours after the derailment, the head of the agency didn't come until days and days later, and former President Trump is there today. What do people in the community think about the response?
Again, that's hard to say, because I would like to say myself that the community responded very quickly. The first responders were wonderful. The people in the town, the police, all the officials that have to do like with the townspeople and the safety, they made sure people got out, that there wasn't going to be an explosion. At the very beginning, I was very happy in their response that they gave. As far as national, again, I'm just the spiritual father of the parish. I don't want to get involved in the politics of the matter.
Okay, so how can people outside of Ohio help? What do you need?
Well, if New Yorkers or want to send donations, they can send a monetary donation in care of the church at the address that you have listed, and then that way we get the money to where it needs to go.
All right, absolutely. And of course, we'll send you our prayers. Father David Misbrenner, pastor of Our Lady of Lourdes and St. Jude's, thanks so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Our Lady of Lourdes Church is accepting donations for the train derailment recovery and their Gift of Mary Fund. Just send a check to Our Lady of Lourdes Church at 180 7th Street in Columbiana, Ohio, and the zip code 44408. Still to come on Currents News, no calm before the storm here, how emergency services around the country prepare for snowy weather. Plus, better check your flights. The setback airlines are also facing in the eye of the storm. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. All good things must come to an end. Asbury University is ending its 24/7 revival service after 13 days, and mass celebrations will be moved off campus. Despite what happens next, as Phil Pendleton tells us, the 50,000 people that flocked to a small town in Kentucky truly helped revive the local economy.
What is it that has drawn so many so often here?
And I mean, this is a testament of it, right? A little town, subway down the street, convenience store over there, but they said 20,000 people. I mean, that's amazing.
It's just people, regular folks, just want to come out and experience the goodness of God.
The last service for the general public was to begin at 2, yet it started as soon as hundreds of young people walked in.
It's really the opportunity to be in a place where the Holy Spirit has descended upon and just been anointed there.
There were so many people that came here Sunday that police pretty much had to shut the town down to anyone other than those who lived here because it was pretty much over capacity. The town was bursting at the seams, and today this parking lot, which is several hundred yards away from Hughes Auditorium, was filling up hours before that 2 p.m. service was to begin. Wilmore is a town of about 5,000, but the town has attracted possibly 3 or 4 times that many. People stay for the services and then stop into local businesses.
I think we're just kind of humble and grateful that just our town has just been so full of people that are seeking God at this time, which is really neat.
Services are more structured and scheduled.
This is not an as very planned event. This is not something we have a handbook for. So, we got the sense pretty early on God was doing something really big here, and therefore we knew it wasn't ours to hold forever. And so we're seeing now that there's a natural movement to take this out into the world.
That was Phil Pendleton reporting. The school will still stream parts of the services through Thursday. All right, better check your flight before heading to the airport. Over 1,000 flights are being canceled. A powerful coast-to-coast snowstorm is impacting western and northern states. On top of that, extremely heavy winds and intense snow will likely hit the west coast and northwest. Flight delays and cancellations are expected to only increase on Thursday. This is on top of the 300 flights canceled on Tuesday. There's no calm before the storm for hospitals and EMS workers. They're hustling before an increase of calls and patients. And as Andy Madison tells us, teams across the country are already working overtime to keep people safe.
For doctors, nurses, and ambulance drivers, preparation for the storm has been underway.
Asking extra staff to come in to back up the staff that maybe can't get in or won't be able to get in, and then making plans for those who are stuck.
We do have shovels on our ambulances. We have salt and sand mixtures as well to help us out. And we have a few sleds if we need to use them.
The first wave of winter weather usually sends patient numbers down. More people need help in the aftermath.
Falls are a huge one. And I mean, we can't forget how much ice we have right now from that last rain underneath that snow. So we have seen so many falls over this past week, and that's not going to go away with the snow.
Hennepin EMS says they usually average 6 calls an hour, but with yesterday's falls, they got between 20 and 30. That's one reason why first responders are asking everyone to stay home and off the roads if possible.
Definitely the weather can impact our response. It might make it slightly slower for us to get to people when needed, but we triage all our calls and get to the most important ones first, the ones that are most sick or most injured.
We will get to you as quickly as we can and as safely as we can. But if you don't need us, we'd appreciate, saving us for somebody who really, really does, especially during these hard times of getting around.
Andy Madison, Currents News.
All right, you're going to want to check your closet for your old iPhone after hearing this. This iPhone from 2007 was sold for $63,000 on Sunday. That's more than 100 times its original cost. Some of the notable features: it has 8 gigabytes, no front-facing camera, and no app store. This first generation iPhone was sold with the original shrink wrap still on it. The original owner plans to use the money for her New Jersey business. Good for her. Wow. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.